we will go back to the era where ideas will be the key, and whoever comes with big ideas for their brands and products will eventually win.
This holiday season, marketers are facing their biggest decisions at a point of maximum pressure. Delivery fatigue and budget crunch are real, and it's leading to complacency around creative effectiveness in digital marketing, and that could make or break campaigns. So, what can you do about it? Well, you should read the automated creative white paper called Compounding Creative, an Urgent Q4 Wake-Up Call. So you can get this on this bit.ly link, which is bit.ly/Q4 Xmas 2023. So that is bit.ly, that's lowercase, then / capital Q, number 4, capital X, capital M, capital A, capital S, and then 2023. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Shiny New Object podcast. My name is Tom Ollerton. I'm the founder of the creative effectiveness ad tech platform Automated Creative, and it's my pleasure and a privilege to interview our leaders about their vision for the future of this industry. And I'm on a call with Qaiser Bachani, who is Consumer Experience Lead, Europe and Global Brands at Mondelēz. So Qaiser, for anyone who doesn't know you and what you do, could you give the audience a bit of an overview?
Sure. Thank you, Tom. Pleasure to be here. I'm Qaiser Bachani. As you said in my introduction, I oversee the consumer experience team for Europe and global brands here at Mondelēz. After spending first 15 years of my career with the various media agencies around the world, from Dubai to China to Malaysia, I moved to the client side, in 2013 with GSK Consumer Healthcare in Singapore when I was running the Asia, Middle East, Africa region, and did some work around digital media transformation. Moved to Bayer Consumer Healthcare in 2019 in their Switzerland HQ, where I was leading the digital transformation area for them. And for the past nearly 3 years now, I've been with Mondelēz, working on these two fantastic scopes. One where I get to lead the European team of amazing 20 people across the region, driving our consumer experience agenda, and also working with our global brand teams that are responsible for Cadbury or Oreo or for Toblerone, together with them to help define and set the vision for the future. And again, two kids, married, and live in Basel, which is an hour from Zurich.
So I'd love to know, what is the best investment of your own time, energy, and money that has benefited your career?
That's a good question, Tom. I would say spending time with people in person, be it friends, be it family, or be my colleagues and be my team members, has always have paid so much in return. I was during COVID, everyone sort of learned that how underestimating we were in terms of the in-person engagement, and that has always been my comfort area. That's always my interest area, even in my previous roles before COVID and after COVID as well. I have always made sure that I spend time with my team in person, with them in their own markets, to really understand and get that pulse, what exactly they are up to, how they how they run or how they manage their business or their work. It's not about micromanagement. It's all about just having that empathy to understand what they go through every day, for me to kind of help them, guide them, assist them in every way possible. So I would say spending time with the team in person is so valuable. that sometimes you are unable to quantify that, but that is exactly the thing that drives empathy. It drives that connection between the people and between your teams and the vision that you are trying to deliver together. Because until unless you don't understand the people, you won't be able to go far. And you won't be able to deliver the objectives or the vision that the organization has given you to kind of lead and deliver. So that has always been my, I would say, an important area for me. And I'm very blessed that in every organization that I have worked with, that particular value has always been there. So it has become easier for me to kind of, action on it as well.
So when do you know it's time to see someone in person?
So there is no set time, Tom, to be honest. I think you need to be careful. You need to make sure that the time you choose to go and see people and meet them, don't go, of course, see them when they are extremely busy, when there is a full annual planning process going on, or they are swamped with work, because I think then you might end up creating a lot of distraction for them. But at the same time, I think in your regular engagement with them, you will find out, and a lot of times they will also ask you to kind of come and visit them, or come and sit with them, or they are going into a very important meeting in the next 2 weeks, or they are preparing something which is extremely critical, and it'll be good if I'm there with them in support. So there is no perfect timing. The only thing that, yes, I try to avoid the peak times when I know my teams are extremely busy in the markets, and if you avoid those, then it all depends, what is when they would also like you to be there as well. So that's how I plan my market visits, or I think I was telling you as well for the broadcast, is I was in London last week. This is September tends to be that month where a lot of preparations are underway for the work for 2024. So I think the timing was simply perfect. I sat with the team, I sat with the agency as well, and achieved so many things in just 1 week. So going back to simply answer your question, I don't think so there's a perfect time. But yeah, just avoid the peak times where the teams will be super busy and so on to work.
So, assuming you are in front of your teams, what is the top marketing tip that you share with your teams most often?
Like personally speaking, and also telling my team, and also the way, at least the way we approach marketing at Mondelēz, and that was one of the key attraction I had when Mondelēz reached out to me a couple of years ago to take this role, is try to think the users of your brand, or the consumer of your brand, as people. And that's extremely important and critical. And every time I'm sitting with my team, and we are reviewing any plans, any strategies, any analysis that when we are doing, and any kind of conclusion that we are drawing from various analysis, we try to always look every piece of information from a people perspective, because that gives you, that provides you a lot of empathy in terms of if consumers and people are taking any certain actions, or if they are if the way they are engaging with your brand across the spectrum of media touch points, why exactly they are doing it, what are their motivations, why they are not interacting enough. Is it something that we are not taking into consideration? Are we simply trying to put our messaging out there, or we are looking at how a normal person, when sees our comms or see our messaging, what kind of reaction that person will have, and what kind of next action he or she will make after seeing that comms. So I think my one marketing tip is think from a lens of empathy, think from a lens of considering the users of your brands as people and not consumers or data points or personas for that matter, because that's where I believe the brands can drive significant amount of value compared to looking in any other way for that matter.
This episode of the Shiny New Object podcast is brought to you in partnership with MadFest. Whether it's live in London or streamed online to the global marketing community, you can always expect a distinctive and daring blend of fast-paced content, startup innovation pitches, and unconventional entertainment from MadFest events. You'll find me causing trouble on stage, recording live versions of this podcast, and sharing a beer with the nicest and most influential people in marketing. Check it out at www.madfestlondon.com. So now we're going to move on to your shiny new object, which is one we've never had before in 250 episodes, is the big idea. So I think I know what a big idea is in our industry, but why have you chosen the big idea as your shiny new object, and help the audience understand exactly what you mean by that?
Sure. So I think this requires a bit of a context, and I think your listeners, definitely would empathize with it. That in the last 5 to 8 years, since the emergence of digital media, I think a lot of marketing activity, one could argue, have become very technical in terms of comms, in terms of marketing activations, etc. And I think with the recent emergence, and I think we are still in the very early stages of that conversations around generative AI or AI in general, I firmly believe that the kind of technical nature of marketing activations and comms that we saw in the last 5 to 10 years will be taken over by big ideas. And the way, when I say big idea, I talk about that the people who drive this big idea generations, be it the marketers or the agencies partners that we work with, I think they will have far more, I would say, time and space to think about how to reach people through those big ideas, and less worrying about the scale and speed at which they should be doing this work, because a lot of the scale and the speed of delivery will be taken care of by the AI tools that are currently at our disposal, or the tools that will be available in the future. So they don't have to worry about anymore, how many assets I have to produce, or how many creators I have to kind of produce now for different platforms, and whether my messaging will fit this platform versus the other. Their focus and effort will be far more on how my big idea can be differentiated enough, which can then travel across many spectrum of media touch points, and the scale and the speed, all the important technical matters will be taken care by the AI tools that are currently or will be available in the future. And therefore, I strongly believe that thanks to the emergence of AI, we will go back to the era where ideas will be the key, and whoever comes with big ideas for their brands and products will eventually win, not people with just AI tools. AI tools will just be an enabler for you to disseminate those big ideas at speed and scale. But the big ideas will be the one which will differentiate your brand in the eyes of people versus anyone else. So that's I feel, and with every passing day, I'm becoming more and more confident about this this shiny object, you may call it, or this vision for the future.
So help me understand the problem that generative AI is solving for the industry here. So I understand that there will be automation in place to produce all the variants, all the platform, all the sizes, all of that stuff. So is the problem that agencies and creative teams don't have enough time to think about big ideas, or that they're distracted by, what does the display banner look like, or what does the paid social ad look like?
I think it's both, Tom. I think both the one, there is over indexing in terms of spending too much time on things which are important, but at the same time, you can't be spending 100% of the time on just few things. You need to make sure that you manage your time effectively. And if you are spending less time on idea generation and more time in that how that idea will land into different comms channel, then I think you are missing the boat. I think we always have talked about media neutral ideas, right? But especially in the CPG sector, the examples would be very limited in the last few years, because again, as I said, one, we are spending too much time on how an idea will land in a specific channel or a platform, and I think as the fragmentation of these channels, or as the consumer have become more and more fragmented in terms of their consumption of these various media channels, we have spent more and more time in making sure that the message and the idea lands. And I'm not saying that we should not be doing that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that there is a right balance that is required. And I think in the last 5 to 10 years, I would say more focus has gone into that part rather than idea generation and making sure those ideas are powerful enough, and they should be able to land seamlessly, regardless of the platform or the channel that we are talking about.
So, assuming this automation's in place and all of that distracting stuff is taken care of, what do you look for in a big idea in 23, 24? How do you know it's a big idea when the audience is distracted, is fragmented, and sure, media neutral? That's a great thing to have on a slide and to put in a brief. But the reality of what will work on TikTok isn't going to be the same thing that works on YouTube. That isn't going to be the same thing that works in a banner. So what is a big idea for you, and what makes a brilliant one, and what are you going to give the thumbs up to as you see them moving forward?
Yeah, I think let me perhaps use an example. I think that probably would help people to kind of understand what I'm talking about, big idea. And again, I know it's one of our ideas from Mondelēz, but I think there are many other ideas that are also there in the industry. I think if you since you are based in the UK, and you know that for our brand Cadbury chocolate, the platform or the big idea that we came up with a few years ago was all about driving generosity, right? And that idea, from a research perspective, from all the work perspective, scored very well. And for the past many years, that idea has really fueled the brand growth. Apart from generosity, we haven't done any big thing in the last few years on that particular brand. But if you look at the generosity as a platform for the brand, that idea has been translated in a very, very seamless manner across all the channels that you are just referring to, whether it's YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or Snap, etc. And that's where I talk about, I think, how brand can find a voice. How can brand can find that kind of one thing which connects them, with the people that they are trying to kind of reach on an ongoing basis. And once you have those kind of powerful big ideas, it becomes and took a lot of a time, because in the past, Cadbury did struggle with in terms of finding that voice and finding that why they exist and what they stand for. But once they were able to kind of find that, the translation of that idea into different comms channel became relatively easier. And when it became relatively easier, the amount of time our partners and us spending on those channels in terms of making sure the creative and the messaging and the asset is landing properly automatically got balanced as well. So that's just one idea that I'm just referring to, but there are many others as well that we are currently working on. Even our new recent idea around Toblerone, where we talk about Never Square, and how we are then activating this idea. It has become relatively straightforward to kind of choose the comms channel which will deliver this idea of Never Square, because we spent a lot of time and effort, and we gave that time and space to our agency partners to come up with those big ideas. And then, of course, we were also internally bold enough to take those ideas forward. So I think when you talk about that, yes, every idea still needs to be translated into various comms channels or platforms. Absolutely. But I think once you crack the idea, once you have that idea from a brand lens, the work then the quantity of work that is required to translate that into specific comms channels or platforms becomes reasonable compared to in other cases.
As unfortunately, we are at the end of the podcast now, but thank you for sharing a unique view on this podcast. And no one's talked about big ideas and creativity and the relationship between that and generative AI. So thank you for bringing that to the table. That was enlightening. So if someone wants to carry on talking to you about the things we've discussed in this podcast, where's the best place to reach out to you, and what makes a message that you reply to?
I'm very active on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out to me, drop me a message on LinkedIn. I'm a very I do read the messages. I do get a lot of messages, but I do read them and I do reply them as well, because I always believe and feel that if somebody has taken the time to write to me, whether it's a one line or a full paragraph, it's my duty to kind of reply to them, because I expect the same thing perhaps. So doesn't matter what kind of headline you want to put in that message, but as I said, I'm very active on LinkedIn, and you feel free to reach out to me, and I'll make sure that I read your message and reply to them as well.
Brilliant. Qaiser, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Tom. I really appreciate it.
Hi. Just before you go, I'd really appreciate it if you could take the time to write a review of the shiny new Object podcast on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, whatever it's called these days, or whichever podcast provider you use. We're an indie podcast, so it would go a long way for us if you could just share the word and give us a bit of a support on those channels. That would just be fantastic. If you haven't got time, that's also cool. And yeah, if you could tell your colleagues about the podcast, and also, if possible, don't forget to subscribe. And I'd love to hear your feedback. If you'd like to speak on the podcast or be a guest, or you think I'm asking the wrong questions, anything, I'd be super interested to hear what you think. So please email me at tom@automatedcreative.net. That's TOM at, I'm not going to bother spelling it. Anyway, you'll work it out. Thanks so much.